welcome to the round 22 preview as the Carlton Football Club are about to take on the Hawthorn Football Club on Sunday at the MCG, 1:10 p.m. back at the Coliseum under the lights of the sun and really at the home of football, where the soul of footy exists and where true footy exists. It's been a challenging week as a Carlton supporter. It's been an incredibly tough and emotional, like really raw emotional experience to get through last weekend. It was very disappointing for a number of reasons. I found myself going into my first instinct, and that is just to sort of just be there, care. I think the fan cams was just really important, just to facilitate somewhere where we could just let ourselves feel. And I love it. And then somewhere along the line on Sunday and then Monday, that care factor turned into myself, because at some point you've got to focus on how you are feeling. And then it turned to really, really intense anger and frustration. And it's been a range of emotions, but there's nothing that a good leg day can't fix. So that was what was on the cards this morning. Dripping in sweat, white as a ghost, really violent, which is bizarre because, again, like how many times do I talk about, it's a game, and it is a game and it's fantasy, but we care. And the care factor is what makes this club so special. The passion of its fans, all of us, whatever those emotions are. There really isn't a right and wrong way to feel passion, because ultimately it has to come out in some way, and we're all different. And in a world of infinite possibilities, infinite ways of expressing those emotions will come out. So sitting here on a Wednesday to film this preview, looking ahead to Hawthorn, and I mean, there's a reality of what's going on now. This group really put themselves in a strong position. We're sitting 11-4 after a really nice stretch of games, and there's a piece of footage that I've seen over the last couple of days which I hope isn't what is happening. It's the footage of the woman about to finish the race. She starts celebrating and she gets overtaken at the very end because she started celebrating a little too early. And for whatever reason, I'm hoping that's not what's happening with us. We are a team. It's a really hard team to get a read on as to what motivates them, what makes them tick, because you have individuals and you have what makes them tick, and then you have the collective and what makes the collective tick. And I believed that we had found it. I think a lot of us did. The level that we reached and the way in which we were playing and the way in which we were dominating teams, I thought we had found it. And it was about bottling it up and taking it forward. And that's where the real belief started coming for me, because they had reached a level, they'd earned that belief. And then now you find yourself in this hole yet again. And we haven't been in a hole since last year. Let's be honest, like a real one, where, 3 games to go, questions are asked, seeds of doubt, fear of the end, fear of failure, start coming to the top. And I'm so curious about this group now, because, they want the support, the what they need in order to focus is an environment which allows them to be calm under pressure, because there is a lot of pressure, which is also a figment of their imagination, and they only create the pressure that's in their heads. But in order to really focus, you need an environment which is calm. And so they need that support. They need the pats on the back. They need to know that what they're doing is good enough. But they got that. They were 11-4, and they got it in droves. They got all the support. fans, old guard, new guard, believing in them. You had fans talking about premiership teams and comparing them to the 95 team. They always get it from, I would only assume they always get that support from their families and their teammates and the inside of the club. I don't know, but that's an assumption. Then you have the external, which I guess the fans are included in that, but the mainstream media. So they got it. They had it. You have the pats on the back. What you wanted, you got. And now you've thrown it away. So it's really interesting. What are they motivated by? Are they motivated and what brings them to perform at their best? Are they motivated by the carrot dangling in front of them, the premiership? Or are they motivated by the thing chasing after them, which is the lion, the shark, the reaction? And they haven't had a weight to carry this year, let's be honest, because they've been good. They've been really good. I've been really impressed with what the team has been able to do this year. And so I'm left now curious with 3 games left. Like, when is it going to start? When are the engines going to start? The post-game reaction going into this week as well, I'm a little bit concerned about. Curiosity has become concern. Let me explain. So the notion of being proud of the effort or being proud of not giving up, I think, is an interesting one. Initially, I didn't think too much of it, but now I'm starting to see it filter into this week. Jacob Wiedering goes on to 360 with David Rees-Jones and sort of just continues that line of messaging, and sort of got me thinking. I mean, of course, you have to, stay alive and you can't give up. And yeah, I am proud that they didn't give up, but that's also the expectation as to where they're at now. And so a really good chat I had with Pommy on the show on Monday and subsequently as well is something that's really helped me, look for a little bit more honesty. And I think honesty is important. Like, you can't move on until you're honest. I have a belief that whatever's happening on the inside, that there is brutal honesty. And the reason is because of the leadership that we have on the inside of the club. I think we have strong leaders. I know it's easy to say that when we're winning, and it's harder to say that when we're losing. And if I'm in the minority that believes that, now that we're not looking pretty, well, fuck it, don't care. But I think what gives these leaders their reputations is what they've been able to do in their careers, and that's on field and off field. So I do believe they're having the honest, brutal conversations. And if they're not, they're going to get the brutal, honest truth, because the fans will give it to them at the race at the end of the game on Sunday if they lose, because that's what's going to happen. Whether it's this week, next week, or the week after, they'll get the honest truth. If they're getting complete pats on the back, then that leaves a hole for the honest truth, the brutal, honest truth to come out. So I think we'll deal with that if and when it happens. I think I'm a little bit concerned that we're still not ready to elevate our language. Maybe that's what this group is. Maybe they're just not what a lot of us want them to be yet. Or maybe that's just not going to be them. Maybe they need support to figure out. My read on the situation is Voss is facilitating them until they take accountability. I'm more on the players and the group than what I am anyone else. That's not to say that coaches and administrators and club in general aren't accountable. So please don't take those words simplistically. Please have a little bit of thought and nuance as to what I'm saying, because I'd like to think I'm talking in a deep way. I think until the players take it, it's not going to happen. And so many examples and things that I've seen over the week that give me a bit more curiosity. So this week is the Heritage Round, which is fine. The Guernseys come out. It's a pretty cool Guernsey. You've got the collars. That's awesome. We see the press conference with Adam Sard and Ange Christou and the joint bobblehead. I'm like, that's curious. We see the interview with Sid Jackson, and they roll out Sticks with Harry Mackay. You've got Fogarty with Hogg on radio. And like, I get Heritage Round, and I get the 160 years of this club. But let's be honest about this club. Let's be honest about the history of the club. If you want to keep going down into the history, it's littered with darkness. You know, we are the old dark navy blues. It's littered with deceit. It's littered with cheating. It's littered with winning at all costs, whatever, by any means necessary, whether you like it or not. We haven't been the nice guys. We've been the mean, nasty guys that win at all costs. How far back do you want to go? If you want to talk about the match-fixing scandal in the early 1900s, if you want to talk about the false racism allegations in 1970, which were revealed in the doco, if you want to talk about salary cap. So let's not pretend that this is a, happy, glorious, nice club. No, we have to have respect and humility, and we've had to learn that the hard way. But let's not pretend for a minute that this is some rainbows type club, because it's not. So are we going through an identity crisis at the moment? I don't know. But we constantly roll out the legends. And maybe it's just because it's Heritage Round, but it's not, because it's happened constantly. And every time we do, it doesn't seem to end well. So hasn't been written yet, whatever happens on Sunday. But I am seeing it's a bit too much for me. And that's just my take. If everyone's take is worth 1 cent, that's my 1 cent. I think it's a bit overkill. Like a joint bobblehead, that's interesting. Love Ange. Absolutely love Ange. Didn't watch much of him play. But why is he on a joint bobblehead with Sard? Like, why? What for? Shout out North Seafood and Grill, awesome. But like, what for? When is it going to be about this group creating their own legacy? The club's history and the celebration of 160 years is fine. It's just got a bit of campaign written to me. Like, it's really been thought out. The campaign to boost sales and the like. So I've got a few thoughts on that. That's where my mind's going. And then there's this blatantly obvious disconnection. I saw Wiedering with David Rees-Jones, and like Wiedering's like, well, they asked him about David Rees-Jones, and by the way, this isn't a pot shot at David Rees-Jones, but like, he played in an era. It's come and it's gone. It's almost a different game. And Jacob's like, well, I'm born in 1997. So like, what is he supposed to feel? Like, how many times can you force these legends in front of these young men and reinforce a message of create your own legacy? Well, are they living in the shadows of the previous legends, or are they creating their own shadows? So I'm really curious to see how that plays out. And it's just time to start getting brutal. It has to be. You look around the competition and it's there for, honestly, anyone. It really is. And the story of the winner of 2024, as is the case with most premierships, is the team that is brutal enough to get through all the challenges and all the hurdles that a season brings. And the beauty of what we've got this year is that it is open. And there is no clear standout. There's a form team in the competition right now, or 2 or 3 teams that are in better form than others as we head into round 22. But I think we all know what happens in finals. Everything turns. So are we just going through a bit of a down patch right now that's about to turn around? Well, maybe. And maybe there are a few more chapters to be written. And I really do understand the philosophy of that. But until you step into the moment and turn the page, you're going to be stuck in the same chapter. And I think that applies to everything. I mean, I'm experiencing that in my own experience in life as well. So, I'm not saying something that doesn't apply to myself. And so at some point, when is the brutality going to arrive? When are we going to become the old dark navy blues? Because right now we're watching teams tap into a darkness which is honestly the end of their season, and we're watching them play with that do or die attitude for longer, and at some point we're going to have to tap into that. Philosophically, is this position that we find ourselves in, is this what's needed? Is that just what the group is made up of? They need a weight to carry. They need some doubt to overcome because they believe in themselves too much. I don't know the answer to the question, but it is a question that has come up in my mind this week. So if you are not willing to play every possession and concentrate for every single possession, you have to be cut. This is a war now. There's no room anymore. There's no cushion of top two anymore. This is it. You're back in the hole. You're back with the rest. And I actually think it is a good thing. Because like I said, that footage of the woman walking and celebrating a little bit too early because she thought she'd done enough, it rings in my head. Being good for a long part of the game is not good enough. Turning the game and bringing it back to within a kick is an expectation. You have a duty to do that. Wiedering talked about, we're going to learn from these moments, and against Collingwood last week, and, they'll hold us in good stead, and rhetoric around that. And then he goes and references 2022 against Collingwood where we didn't take our moments. So at what point can we be real about this? Let's get serious now. The boys are, it's all there. I would not be talking like this if I don't believe it was all there. And I think a lot of us believe it's there, but they haven't stepped into it. So the choice is theirs. What they're going to do is what they're going to do. I'll be there Sunday, cheer them a little hard out, just going for it. I'll be up and about. I'll back them in. I'll believe in them until they completely fuck it up. But let's be serious for a minute. How many pats on the back do you need? Why do you need external validation? I get it. The world is a little bit like that. Everyone out here is looking for external validation. 99% of what you watch and what you listen to is done by people that do it for external validation. So let's cut the shit for a minute. And I think what I learned last year is these boys honestly have themselves. They're not doing it for the fans. They shouldn't do it for the fans, because the fans will be here and they'll support them, and there'll be a lot of them that will support them unconditionally, and maybe those are the fans you want to do it for. But a lot of them also will, take out their life's frustrations on them and, watch them and treat them like entertainers as opposed to, human beings. Dance for me, monkey. Oh, you didn't win by enough. I wasn't entertained. Should have been 10 goals. Winning's not enough all of a sudden. It's got to be done in a certain way. So I'm looking at just a win. Just fucking beat the Hawks. If I'm honest, I really think I've never bought this Hawthorn hype. I've loved watching them. I truly have loved watching them. I think what they've done is awesome. But we've been talking about the other teams for honestly the last couple of months now. When is it going to be about us? When's it about Carlton and Carlton's weapons? There's a few players that I'm watching with intent this week. And they are big boys. And that's Pitto, Harry, and Charlie. Pitto is a brute of a man. Plays with this brutal vigor and this warrior spirit. I want it for four quarters. Harry, I never want to see Harry get thrown around and dominated in any contest ever again. Let that be the last time it happens, because that's just not good enough. And he's Harry Mackay. Someone's got to get to him and shake him and say, Harry, you're Harry Mackay. Don't let anyone dominate you ever again. Charlie, I would like to see him play with more force as well. Charlie, I can understand a bit. I think his teammates need to help him because he's done a lot for his team for a long time. So I'm on the balance of how much do you say, Charlie, we need you to lift, which we do. And at the same time, his teammates aren't helping him. So what can we do? And his coaches. So those are the three. Because I know what I'm going to get from Patrick Cripps this week. I know what I'm going to get from Jacob Wiedering this week. The leaders. I think we've seen leadership in our back line. I think we've seen leadership in the midfield. Might throw George Stewart in there as well. And I think we're lacking some leadership in our forward line. And that's been a question from the start of the year, and that's been something that still hasn't completely evolved. Hopefully it will with time, but I don't want to see us getting mentally dominated this week. That we are so far beyond that now. It has to be unacceptable to get mentally dominated now. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. I looked at some things happening around the world which just caught my attention. There's an Australian playing in the NFL, Adam Gotsis. He's been in the league for a decade now, maybe a little bit longer. Copped a stinger on his shoulder in practice a few days ago. Ends up being nerve damage. Gets a scan. Turns out that it's nerve damage. Gets a phone call from the Jags. Got cut. They paid him out. Got cut. Brutal. There's another Australian who I think broke his ankle. He didn't have a guaranteed contract. Paying for his rehab. Cut. Waived. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And just kind of got me thinking, like, maybe it's a different sport, so it's a different culture, but I mean, I kind of look at us, like, and it's not just us, a lot of teams do it. Players get injured and we just hold on. And I think where I take that message is into this team selection this week. Players who are not able to focus and have concentration for 4 quarters cannot play this week, because we continue to learn the hard way that every moment counts. So, yeah. What would I do? What would I do this week? I think if Chincotta's not tagging or playing in a role in the back line, I don't understand what he's doing there. I think it's a detriment to him, and I think it's a detriment to the team. I'd probably have him in the back line instead of Boyd and give him a role. Can't drop Harry. You can't, because he's too good. I don't think Boyd is in the same boat as Harry, but yeah, we need a lift. We need to turn it on. We need to find it. I do sit on the side of the fence where what I saw in that last 15 minutes was what you've got to bottle up and take as your message for this week. You have to. You have to. I know quarters 2 and 3 were completely unacceptable. And I know quarters 1 with the inaccuracy was unacceptable to a degree as well. But you have to bottle up what we saw in the last 15 minutes and take it in. And you have to reinforce that. I understand that. I do. I understand that has to be the message. So, can't wait. What are they going to do? What are they going to do this Sunday? Are they really going to throw it away? Really? I don't think they will. I think they'll win. Back him in. I'll back him all the way. I'll believe in them until the end of the season, until the final siren's gone in the last game. And if they've bottled it, we'll deal with it then. I don't care if I sit in the minority. So that's that. What about you? How are you feeling ahead of round 22? Share with us in the comments below your thoughts. How have you overcome last weekend? Have you overcome? Are you ready to move on? I mean, we have to, but what are the things that you're looking for this week? What is the most important thing this week in how to turn around the attitude of this group and find their collective focus? Share with us in the comments and we'll go from there. Go Blues.